Hey guys, tonight we begin with the unforgettable life and working conditions of brothel boys in the Qing Dynasty. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're born somewhere between a pile of rice husks and a sigh. A back alley in Jiangnan probably, though no one bothered to write it down. Your mother calls you her little treasure, but the kind that costs more to keep than it's worth. You're the third son, which in Qing Dynasty economics puts you just above the family goat and just below the bucket. Food is scarce. Attention is scarcer. Your oldest brother is being groomed to inherit the family's one viable career path. Probably chopping wood or collecting taxes, whichever pays slightly less. Your second brother is the backup plan. Your plan C, as in, can we sell him to Madame Sheng before he hits puberty? You're pretty. It's not your fault. Your lashes are long. Your skin suspiciously smooth and your shoulders slope in that aesthetically tragic way poets love. So when a Silk Road woman shows up to admire the neighborhood children, you're presented like a melon at market. She nods approvingly, hands your father a pouch of coins, not many, but more than you're likely to earn hauling turnips for a decade. And suddenly you're being told how lucky you are. You're going to the city. You'll be dressed in silk. You'll live in a refined establishment. You don't know what that means, but your mother is crying and your father is suddenly interested in repainting the door. They rename you before you even arrive. Something like Little Plum or Fragrant Wind. Your old name is now irrelevant, like your opinions or dietary prefer. And the worst part, you're about to learn how to smile about it. You arrive at the brothel with the optimism of a damp towel. The building is large, colorful, and smells like incense and overcompensation. A painted sign swings in the breeze above the door, announcing your new home in poetic characters that translate loosely to House of Blossoms and Gentlemen. You are neither blossom nor gentleman, but no one seems concerned. A maid, or maybe a prison guard with better posture, escorts you inside and begins the transformation. First, your clothes are taken. Not folded and set aside, but taken. You're handed something silkier, tighter, and suspiciously fragrant. You look like a dumpling wrapped in regret. Then comes the bath. Not a warm soak, but a full-body interrogation by boiling water. And a woman with a loofah like a cheese grater. She scrubs you like you owe her silver. Hair washed. Skin buffed. Nails trimmed to perfection. Dignity down the drain. Perfume is next. Not dabbed, not spritzed, poured. You smell like a floral arrangement that lost a fight with a spice rack. Apparently, natural scent is not in the job description. You are now expected to carry the aroma of peach blossoms, powdered moonlight, and whatever masculine allure is when it's distilled into something that stings the eyes. After the external renovations, it's time for etiquette school. You're told to smile, but not too wide. Walk gracefully, but not like a dancer. Speak poetically, but not like a scholar. Nobody wants to be outwitted by their wine pourer. You learn how to kneel, pour tea, and look interested while someone recounts their government exam scores from 20 years ago. It's less education, more theatrical training for a life of exquisite pretending. One of the older boys, let's call him Whispering Bamboo because that's his actual work name, takes you aside and gives you the rundown. Flatter them, feed them, never correct their poetry. And if they want you to sing for the love of the ancestors, don't sing louder than them. You nod. You want to ask if it gets better. He just stares for a long time and says, "You'll get used to it." Spoiler. You won't. You thought the worst was over when the loofah lady left. You were wrong. The brothel has a curriculum, and unlike school, truancy is not an option. Your new education begins the moment you can stand upright without dripping sandalwood oil. You're handed a fan, a script, and the knowledge that your entire future now depends on the convincing delivery of compliments to sweaty old men. Step 1, Posture. Apparently, you've been walking wrong your entire life. You're told to glide, not stomp. Float like a poem, the madam says. You try. You look more like a drunk goose. She sighed deeply and mutters something about peasants with ankles like oxen. Step 2, Voice. Yours is too loud, too flat, too honest. You're taught to speak in a pitch halfway between apology and seduction. You practice saying things like, esteemed guest, your presence is as radiant as the moon over West Lake. Without laughing, it's hard. You nearly rupture your liver holding it in. Step 3, Poetry. Not writing it. Heavens no. Your job is to memorize and recite it as if it means something. You don't know what jade fragrance dances with spring wind even means, but you're told it makes old men feel nostalgic, which apparently helps loosen their wallets. Step 4, Music. You learn to pluck the peeper, though your instructor openly weeps every time you play. Not out of emotion, just pain. You also learn a bit of flute because nothing says, please tip me like a child playing a wind instrument with dead eyes. Step 5, Wine Service. This is the most sacred of arts. You must pour without spilling, refill without asking, and always keep your wrist limp and graceful. You're told the proper wrist flick can earn a whole silver tael. You try. You splash wine on a customer's lap and nearly get reassigned to dishwashing. And then there's smiling. You're told it's your most valuable asset. Not too toothy, not too sly, just enough to say, I find you deeply amusing. Please keep paying for my rice. You practice in the mirror. You frighten yourself. At the end of each day, your legs ache, your brain is full of Qing Dynasty metaphors, and your soul is clinging to a bamboo flute for dear life. But congratulations, you're officially in training, whatever that means. You've spent weeks preparing for this training, posture, flute solos, poetry about moons and chrysanthemums, but none of it prepares you for them. The clients, they arrive like a parade of midlife crises and bad cologne. There's a lot of silk, not a lot of teeth. You expected elegance. What you get is a gaggle of civil servants, merchants with delusions of poetry, and one man who insists he once met the emperor's cousin twice. Madame Xiang, your ever-scheming boss and part-time demon in pearls, lines you up with the other boys for the evening showcase. You're expected to smile fan in hand and somehow look both innocent and mildly available. You resemble a hostage auditioning for a tea commercial. The first man points at you. This one, he grunts like he's ordering duck. You're taken to a private room decorated with faded wall scrolls and the scent of steamed dumplings. He sits. You kneel. He talks. You nod. He talks more. You nod again. It's like performance art except with less meaning and more foot sweat. He quotes poetry badly. You're expected to act amazed. Your beauty, like spring's first rain, drips into my heart, he recites, slurring the metaphor into something that sounds more like plumbing trouble. You murmur something vaguely admiring, pour his wine, and make a mental note to scream into a pillow later. The evening drags on. You refill his cup. You massage his ego. You pretend to laugh at a joke about tax ledgers. He touches your shoulder and calls you graceful. You pretend it's a compliment and not a warning sign. Eventually, he leaves, not because he's satisfied, but because he's out of silver. You bow politely as he stumbles out, then collapse into the nearest chair like a puppet whose strings have been cut. Whispering Bamboo pats you on the back. Not bad for your first time, he says. He only tried to touch your hair. Could have been worse. You blink. That was good. But no one asks what you think. You're now officially one of them. A brothel boy in the House of Blossoms. A performer in a theater of illusions. A peach-scented ghost haunting other people's fantasies. And this was just the easy customer. You thought pouring tea would be the easy part. How hard could it be to tip a pot and not spill? Turns out in Qing Dynasty Brothel, everything is performance, even tea. Before the evening starts, you're briefed on the sacred ritual of the tea set. Each item has meaning. Each gesture is calibrated to charm, beguile, and subtly distract your guest from the fact that he's spending his savings on fermented leaves and forced compliments. You practice for hours, holding the teapot by the tail like a swan's neck, pouring in long, elegant streams without looking and smiling. Always smiling, even when the steam scalds your wrist and you've made eye contact with your reflection in the cup and questioned all your life choices. The first real client tonight is a scholar. At least he says he's a scholar. He wears a lot of ink stains and quotes Confucius with the enthusiasm of a man hoping it makes up for his breath. You kneel, you smile, you pour. Such grace, he says, watching you tilt the pot like a crane at dawn. You nearly laugh, but you hold it in because now it's time for flirtation. The most ambiguous battlefield in the brothel world. You're instructed to be playful but distant, warm but unattainable, and alluring yet innocent. In other words, a cat but with better posture. So you begin. You compliment his poem which references plum blossoms and loneliness. You tilt your head slightly, widen your eyes, a classic brothel trick. He looks at you like you've just validated his entire literary career. He giggles. You refill his cup. He leans in. You lean back just enough to make it seem deliberate, not defensive. He sips, and begins to tell you about his youth, his dreams, and his complex relationship with his mother. You nod empathetically while mentally counting tea leaves and wondering if your peeper string is still broken. By the end of the evening, he leaves lighter in wallet and heavier in self-worth. You've smiled so long your cheeks hurt. But congratulations, you've successfully executed a flawless round of strategic tea seduction. You'll do it again tomorrow and the day after that until you die or marry rich, whichever comes first. By now, you've mastered the smile, the tea pour, the subtle art of pretending to care about a man's calligraphy. But even with all your charm, you're still a nobody. Because in the brothel, hierarchy is sacred, and you're currently positioned just slightly above the chamber pot boy and slightly below the cat. At the top is Madame Shang, supreme ruler of the House of Blossoms. She doesn't walk, she floats, trailing perfume and judgment. Her word is law. Her fan is sharper than most daggers. If she taps it twice, someone's career ends. If she taps it thrice, someone disappears entirely. Then there's Whispering Bamboo, the senior boy. He's been here since the Conqueror Emperor still had black hair. Elegant, sly, and dangerously good with a flute. He can make men cry with a poem or open their coin purses with a wink. He says things like, "We are instruments of fantasy, darling," and makes it sound profound. He has his own room, his own clientele, and most enviably, he no longer has to pour tea for drunk butchers from Shandong. Beneath him are the established boys, each with their own specialties. Night Lotus does erotic riddles. Jade Cricket sings falsetto opera. Red Pony has an actual fan club of retired generals. They have territories, preferred clients, and corner seats at meal time. They also have egos the size of palace roofs. You're a new blossom. Translation, cheap, replaceable, and mostly here to look pretty while being told what to do by boys wearing more makeup than you. You sleep in a shared room with 5 others, bathe last, and get the leftovers from the dumpling tray. If you're lucky, you might get assigned to pour wine for one of the lesser merchants, the ones who tip in compliments and coughs. Of course, below. You are the runners and scrubbers, boys who haven't yet proven they can string 3 flirty sentences together. They fetch towels, heat water, and get blamed for everything from broken teacups to awkward silences. The hierarchy is strict, and any attempt to jump it is punished. Whisper too loudly about Madame Xiang's wig glue. Your scrubbing chamber pots accidentally outperform a senior boy. Congratulations. You now serve his tea. In this world, survival isn't about beauty. It's about knowing your place. Staying in your lane, and pretending you love it there. You used to think glamour meant silk robes, perfumed hair, and dreamy looks over lantern light. A magical life, right? Wrong. Turns out glamour is expensive. Not just in money, though you are not seeing much of that either, but in time, dignity, and alarming quantities of goose fat. Your morning routine starts before sunrise, before roosters, before your soul is even awake. You stumble to the bathing room where cold water awaits like an ambush. Hot water is for clients. You meanwhile get the luxury of shivering while washing off the faint smell of yesterday's powdered humiliation. Then comes makeup, a process that requires 2 mirrors, 3 arguments, and a steady hand. Your face must be painted to perfection. Porcelain skin, blood-red lips, eyebrows shaped like willow leaves and disappointment. A single smudge and Madame Xiang will appear from the shadows like an angry ghost. Your hair, a battlefield of pins, wax, and hair pieces. It's sculpted into a shape that defies physics and occasionally balance. You can't lie down properly, can't scratch your scalp, and birds now regard your head as potential nesting real estate. Then there's wardrobe. Silk robes so delicate they tear if you breathe wrong. Decorative sashes that cut off circulation. Slippers made for someone with half your foot size and none of your daily mileage. All of it looks glorious under the lanterns until you realize it takes 3 people to help you go to the toilet. Of course, you're expected to maintain this look for hours. You can't sweat, sneeze, or frown too hard. You are a painting, a fantasy, a fragile illusion made of rice powder and lies. Meanwhile, the clients assume you just wake up like this. They sip tea, compliment your skin, and ask if you're naturally graceful. You want to tell them it's the 3rd corset layer keeping you upright, but instead you giggle and pour more tea. At night, you finally peel off the layers, wipe off the lacquered face, and stare into the mirror. You look young, tired, real. For a moment, you remember your actual self, the boy behind the silk and the smile. And then you go to bed knowing tomorrow you'll do it all again. Because beauty isn't effortless. It's just heavily curated suffering. By now you've learned that the brothel is not just a place of business. It's a theater, a battleground, a fashion show, and occasionally a soup kitchen for emotionally needy officials. But it's also a place of rules. Strange, specific, and occasionally enforced by a man holding a rooster feather fan. Which brings us to the forbidden ones. There are clients you're allowed to charm, merchants, scholars, retired soldiers with coin and cataracts. And then there are the off-limits elite, the ones who enter through the back door, never give their names, and are followed by guards who look like they bite. Your instructions are clear. Don't make eye contact. Don't flirt. Don't speak unless spoken to, and even then, don't be interesting. Naturally, the forbidden ones are the most curious of all. High-ranking eunuchs, royal cousins, court officials with secrets leaking out of their sleeves. They don't come here for tea. They come here for control and to be adored without complication. They pick their favorites. Sometimes it's the brooding flute player. Sometimes it's the quiet boy with moonbeam skin. Once disturbingly, it was the kitchen boy who sings to ducks. If you're chosen by one, your life changes overnight. You get better food, softer robes, private quarters, and the unspoken understanding that you now belong to someone. Some boys call it a blessing. Others call it a polite kind of prison. You see it play out one evening, a forbidden one. Let's call him Minister Black Robe. Chooses whispering bamboo. One day he's sipping plum wine and reciting poems. The next he's gone. No farewell, no trace, just a single lotus left on his pillow like something out of a tragic opera. The house goes silent for a week. You learn 2 things. 1. Everyone is replaceable. 2. The forbidden ones don't like goodbyes. Occasionally, rumors swirl about a boy who escaped, one who ran off with a noble woman or faked death with pig's blood, or joined a Buddhist temple disguised as a mute. Every version ends with, and they were never seen again. Which in this place may actually count as a happy ending. So, you keep your eyes down. You smile just enough. You stay forgettable because being too visible here can make you disappear. And not in a poetic way. You've served the tea. You've giggled at bad poetry. You've somehow survived a week wearing silk socks in monsoon. Humidity. But tonight, the curtain sways. It's the soft signal that the performance has entered its next act. The private one, the one with fewer props, no audience, and very different expectations. You step behind it, not because you want to, but because saying no would be impolite and potentially career-ending. The room is warm, too warm. Scented oils float in the air like lies. A client reclines on the silk-covered couch, smiling with all the subtlety of a cat near a bird cage. What happens behind the curtain is never officially discussed. It's not written in the brothel rules. It's whispered about in the laundry room, half in gossip, half in cautionary tale. Here you are no longer a performer. You are a fantasy, more mirror than man. The client doesn't want you. He wants the version of you that sighs on cue, laughs in 3 tones, and finds his joke about duck intestines absolutely thrilling. Sometimes you simply talk. Sometimes you sing. Sometimes you hold a hand and say you understand things you absolutely do not understand. But sometimes it's more. And when it's more, there's a performance to uphold. The graceful removal of robes, the practiced gasp, the delicate balancing act between seduction and self-preservation. You are an artist, a diplomat, and a trained acrobat of emotional labor. Your thoughts drift elsewhere, to home, to lunch, to the sound of rain on tile rooftops. Anything that makes the moment feel less sticky. Some clients are kind. They ask how you are. They hold you like porcelain and leave coins without groping for discounts. Others treat you like part of the furniture, something soft, silent, and easy to replace. But no matter what happens, when the curtain opens again, you must emerge smiling, composed, presentable, as if nothing just happened that might have chipped away at your soul. The other boys look at you, nod subtly. They know they've been there. They'll be there again. You fix your robe, powder your face, step back into the light. Because out here, it's all about illusion. And the curtain that's just there to keep reality conveniently out of sight. You live in one of the busiest brothels in the pleasure quarters of Qing Dynasty, China. And yet your favorite activity is imagining you live literally anywhere else. It's not just you. Every brothel boy has a secret life. Not in reality, of course. Reality involves blisters, incense headaches, and pretending to be excited about drunk tax collectors. But in your head, you are free, wealthy, stunningly talented, and probably married to someone with a forehead that doesn't sweat during tea. Your escape begins when you close your eyes between clients. You imagine sailing down the Yangtze, playing the guqin under moonlight, or owning a tea house where the only drama is a spilled cup and not, say, a crying mandarin in your lap. Some boys imagine becoming opera stars. Others courtesans with actual agency. A delightful oxymoron if there ever was one. Whispering bamboo, always a romantic. Dreams of being stolen away by a kind noble woman with a horse and 0 questions about his past. Your fantasy is more modest. Your own bed, clean rice, and never having to apply powdered rouge to your neck again. Of course, you know none of these are particularly realistic. That's why they're called fantasies and not exit strategies. Actual escape attempts are rare, and when they happen, they're usually the stuff of legend. One boy faked a seizure mid-dance, leapt out the window, and swam through a koi pond before being caught by Madame Xiang holding a soup ladle like a weapon. He now does laundry forever. So instead, you escape in little ways. A nap in the storage room. A joke whispered behind a fan. A song hummed under your breath that reminds you of a simpler time. When you thought street food was a luxury and not your only dinner option in a place where everything is performance, fantasy becomes the only thing that's truly yours. And so you treasure it. You polish it in your mind like jade. You hold it close when the curtain falls, the client leaves, and you're just a tired boy in a painted face, too young to carry this much longing. Maybe one day fantasy becomes memory. But until then, you dream, because that costs nothing. Yet you've grown used to the flickering lanterns, the clinking cups, the rustle of silk, and the quiet tragedy of someone weeping in the bathhouse over a lost hairpin. It's just another Tuesday. But then the outsiders arrive. Not clients, those you can handle. These are different curious people. People who walk like the world belongs to them. Scholars, travelers, missionaries, men and women who peer into your world with that wide-eyed expression of someone reading a scandalous chapter from a book they pretend they don't own. Some come to observe, sketching everything from the furniture to your eyelashes in little notebooks. They marvel at your posture, your painted lips, the way you pour tea like it's a sacred rite instead of something you learn to avoid wrist cramps. "Oh, how elegant," they whisper. So mysterious, so delicate, as if you're a butterfly pinned to a board instead of a person whose shoes don't fit and who hasn't had a private cry in over a month. Some come to save you, offering prayers, pamphlets, and unsolicited opinions. They call your life immoral, as if that word can wrap around every nuance of power, poverty, and obligation, like a neat little moral dumpling. But the worst are the ones who romanticize you. They see poetry in your suffering, art in your exhaustion. They talk about the noble beauty of sacrifice while sitting on cushioned chairs with rice dumplings you're definitely not allowed to eat. Sometimes they ask questions like, "Do you like it here?" And you smile. Of course you do. Who wouldn't love a job that involves emotional labor, public performance, and the occasional risk of venereal disease? You've learned to perform not just for clients, but for the gaze. That gaze that turns you into an object. Elegant, tragic, and above all, silent. And yet, part of you wants to shout. To say, "I'm not a character in your travel diary. I'm not a footnote in your thesis. I'm not your fantasy. I'm me." But you don't say it. You bow. You smile. You go back to your duties. Because in this place, survival depends on knowing which parts of yourself to hide and which parts to sell. Every so often, a boy simply vanishes. No dramatic exits, no farewell poems. One night, he's applying rice powder beside you, complaining about a client's garlic breath, and the next morning, his mat is empty, his comb is missing, and the only trace left is a faint scent of plum oil. Naturally, the official explanation is always the same. He was sent to another house, which sounds wonderfully professional, like a promotion or a transfer, except no one ever sees or hears from him again. You learn not to ask too many questions. At first, it's alarming. Then, it becomes routine, like rain or foot fungus. You mark it with a nod, maybe a whispered, "He deserved better," and move on to rehearse your new song for the clients. Rumors thrive in this silence. Some say the boy ran away, slipped through the roof tiles, disguised as a noodle vendor, living free under the stars. Others say he was sold to a more exclusive establishment where the pillows are softer and the rules are worse. Then there are darker whispers. Illness, punishment, or simply not earning enough to be worth the rice he was fed. No one speaks these things out loud. In this business, imagination is currency, and reality is best kept in storage with the old costumes and broken fans. Still, you remember them. The way Lotus used to hum off-key when he was nervous. How Little Deer always braided his own hair because he didn't trust anyone else's fingers. How you once shared a stolen dumpling with Plum Blossom behind the courtyard wall and pretended it was a banquet. Now they are names you don't dare say aloud. You carry them quietly like hidden bruises, reminders that this life has rules, and one of them is that not everyone finishes the act. You begin to rehearse your own disappearance just in case. A mental map of the alleyways. A coin hidden in a shoe. An imagined version of yourself who gets out and grows old and forgets what it felt like to sleep beneath a silk canopy with your heart clenched like a fist. But until that day, if it ever comes, you paint your face. You strike your pose. And you don't ask what happened to the others because deep down you already know. In most professions, a promotion means more money, more respect, and the slight illusion of control. In your line of work, a promotion mostly means you've survived long enough without fainting, fleeing, or offending the wrong nobleman. If you're lucky, and lucky here includes a strong liver, flexible morals, and high cheekbones, you might be selected for an elevated role. That sounds glamorous, doesn't it? Almost imperial. In reality, it just means fancier costumes and clients with more titles in their names than teeth in their mouths. One day, Madame Xiang calls you in. You brace for the usual reprimand, but instead, she tilts her head and says, "You've been noticed. Congratulations. You're now a house favorite. That means you'll get the juiciest clients. Not necessarily the best, just the ones who pay enough to justify your impending back problems. You're given a new robe, thicker makeup, and a new set of instructions that are somehow even more specific than before. Don't slouch. Speak slower. Lower your eyes, but not too much. And absolutely do not correct the client's calligraphy mid-suction. Apparently, that's off-putting. Promotion also comes with more backstage politics. The lower-ranked boys now eye you like a crane watching a frog. Your fans go missing. Your tea is mysteriously saltier. Lotus mutters under his breath that beauty fades but pettiness is forever. Still, there are perks. Your bedding is replaced. You get an extra dumpling on festival days. And once a visiting official gave you a turtle in a jade bowl and called it a symbol of longevity. You're still not sure if he meant for you or the turtle. But with status comes pressure. You're expected to be perfect, graceful, clever, always just shy of rebellion. You are the brothel's advertisement, its crown jewel, its heavily powdered product. And one misstep, one insulted general, one poorly timed yawn, and it's back to cleaning chamber pots with your sleeve. So you smile, you sing, you serve, you nod sagely at nonsense and pretend not to notice the ink stain on your sleeve from where you scribbled poems between visits. Promotion, it turns out, is just a higher shelf in the same cabinet. But hey, at least the dumplings are warmer. In the brothel, time isn't measured in years. It's measured in how long your face holds up under candlelight and rice powder. And let's just say the candles are brutal. You're not old. You're maybe 20-some, if anyone were actually keeping count. But in brothel years, you're pushing retirement. Your joints make suspicious noises. Your fan dances have a bit more ow than wow. And the new boys are starting to call you gay older brother with just a touch too much pity. You remember when you were the new boy, fresh-faced, terrified, and certain that eyeliner was a form of torture. Now you can apply it in your sleep, which you've done twice. But you've learned something important. Youth is currency, and you are now operating on credit. Clients still ask for you, but less for flirtation and more for deep conversation. A terrifying sign. Nothing screams you're aging out of desirability, like being valued for your personality. Madame Xiang eyes you like someone deciding whether to sell a horse or make it into soup. You overhear whispers about transitioning to tutor work. Code for training the next crop of terrified teenagers. Fantastic. Nothing like watching your replacements arrive. Shinier and more enthusiastic with knees that don't audibly click. You start noticing things. The crow's feet that weren't there before. The way your robe fits a little looser in the wrong places. The fact that you now require actual tea to stay awake instead of just theatrical tea sipping. And still you keep up the act. You flirt. You sing.